everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. I am really encouraged today. When I hear from you folks, the changes that's happening in your life, it really is an encouragement to me because my my passion is not to change your mind about anything. My passion is simply to provoke you to think, provoke you to create a life that you desire, so that you can live every day of your life to the fullest. Life is so sweet, and we can really channel our thoughts. That's your greatest asset, your ability to think, your ability to process things, your ability to reason, your ability to make decisions, the ability to follow your intuition, the ability to simply reason and think. But one of the things that comes with that is you being honest with yourself. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to do, because we are so involved in, or we get so caught up in our emotions, in our belief, in the fears that we have, and the traditional baggage that we bring along with us. What we have to realize is that a lot of the things that we follow, a lot of the things that we believe, a lot of the things that we carry with us, they're outdated. They are so primitive, and we are still, dragging it along, and we sometimes can't evolve because we are hanging on to those traditions. We're hanging on to those beliefs. We're hanging on to the fears, what if, and we're hanging on to to the emotions associated with the thoughts that we entertain. So when I hear from you that, the light went off and you get it, it really encourages me, because once you get it, once you learn something for yourself, not from hearing it from the outside, but from the inside, you cannot unlearn it. There's something that happens on the inside of you that validates that confirms it, that affirm that what you have heard from within, what your intuition is telling you. Because that's another thing also. You must trust your intuition. You must give it value, because therein lies your worth. If you don't trust your intuition, then you're trusting the intuition of someone else. So it's important. So I am just really encouraged. When we started with this journey of self-discovery, I really had no idea as to where it would go. My goal really was, I wouldn't even call it a goal. My desire is, I am really enjoying my life. And I just want to see people happy. There's so many things that are happening in the world that are adverse to what I promote. But if we can encourage many of you to really pivot from the doom and gloom and the fear and the, living a life of submission and compliance and all of that, and realize that you can design the life that you want, create the life that you want, and live it out now, because now is all you know. Everything about you is what you know now. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what happened yesterday is gone. You can't change that. You cannot alter it. But what is now is now. And so I want to encourage you to continue on your path. And those of you that are still struggling, the thing is honesty. You must be honest with yourself. If you cannot be honest with yourself, then you will not evolve, because there are a lot of things that we have been programmed to do, to believe, ways to behave, to act, and so forth. And If you don't know who you are, then you don't know how to act. What you would be doing is performing to please, to fit in, to please other people based on their definition of how you should be, what you should say, how you should act, behave, respond, and things like that. So you must know who you are first. That is the first step. So this journey, know that it is yours. And one of the greatest assets that you have, or your best asset, is your ability to think. Your ability to think. Your mind, it is your mind. It is your mind, and it is your ability to entertain the thoughts, and with the thoughts comes feelings, and then emotions, and then you act out what you know. Because to live a life of belief, again, you must understand, my friend, when you live a life of belief, you are believing what someone else says. And to me, that is so wrong, because what happens is that you are giving more honor, more credence to someone else, to someone else's ability to think, to someone ability to think. You're saying they know more than you, or they have more um, intelligence than you, or more knowledge, more. You are giving more credit to that person, and that person is really navigating through life just as you are. And it's not academia. Yeah, knowing things academically, it's fine, because we want proof, we want evidence, we want uh things that we can see and make reasonable, logical decisions on. But to navigate your life, your intuition tells you things about yourself, tells you truth. It tells you the truth of things, who you are, and how do you fit into this cosmos, and where to go, and what it brings you into a place, first of all, of knowledge of yourself. And once that is, then you begin to align with where you actually fit in. And where you fit in, that's where you would know where your purpose is. You won't be running around trying to find your purpose from outside in. That's not where it happens. Your purpose doesn't come from outside in. Your purpose is discovered. It's like this. I didn't really see me doing this show like, every week. That was not my plan. Perhaps in my subconscious, I knew that, but it wasn't something that I was pursuing, and it just happened. And I said to my husband, I said, we have a fruitful life. We live, and we really enjoy our lives, and so forth. And it really gives us such pleasure. The other day we were at a game, a volleyball game. One of our niece was playing, and I sat there and I was talking with someone that's traveled all over the world. This person was an air marshal, and traveled. It's actually my niece. And so we were talking to her about her travels and so forth. And it was so wonderful because, one of the questions that I asked, if you had to choose a place to live right now, where would you go? And, they start unpacking and trying to think of their best experiences of the places that they have traveled. And then they kind of hone in on one particular country. And then they just proceeded to, they were just flourishing in sharing all the ins and out, the pros and the cons, which was more pros than cons. Cons is just simply you need to know the laws of the land and follow that, and you won't have any issues. But they were so excited in sharing their experience in how the time they spent there in that country, which I think was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. They went there for a training, but in the meantime, they had the opportunity um, to tour and visit places and so forth. And it was just so wonderful because to see the joy, this person just lit up. They just lit up. Why? They were sharing real lived experience. And that's the thing. When you have that, whatever it is that floats your boat, I'm not here to tell you what to do, what to think, or what not to think. I'm just saying, think, and get out of that quagmire of slump, that slump where you are, depressed and wondering what's about your life and feeling invisible. I'm just sharing what I'm hearing. People that are saying they feel invisible, not heard, not seen, and things of that nature. And you're waiting to be validated from, friends, family, grandkids, and you're trying so hard to keep it together. And, people are growing, they are living their own lives. And sometimes it appears as if they're not paying you any mind, and you are trying so hard to keep it together, to keep, that family unit or whatever. You're trying so hard, and people are just like, this is a whole different season, and everybody has a different season. And when we step into our season, then we can live it out based on the way we design it, or based on the way we create it. And it will be that's where our joy lies. Why? Because it comes from us. It's discovering what you like to do, and then just do it. It will unfold, my friend. It will unfold. And for those of you that are saying that you're having all these thoughts with your belief system and the things that you want to do, and you're still feeling guilty. I mean, guilt is huge. It's just and it all comes from, because there's no need to be guilty. It all comes from indoctrination. It all comes from programming and conditioning, and the things that we've been taught and programmed to believe. That's why it's important that you know for yourself. That's why it is important that you know and you make a decision, and you trust yourself and trust your intuition to know that your thoughts are just as valid as someone else's thoughts. I was talking with someone the other day, and they had some things to say, and they say that their life is guided by their religion, by the Bible and things of that nature. And so I said, we can have a conversation outside of the Bible. Let's have a conversation. It's kind of hard to tell someone not to think about the Bible, because that's what they live, breathe, and eat. But so I said, let's have a conversation about you. Let's have a conversation about you, about your feelings, your desires, your wants, your needs, your dreams, your goal. Let's talk about you away from the Bible. And I'm not saying, I wasn't telling her not to believe or anything. I'm just saying, let's talk about you as, woman to woman. Let's just talk about you. And I said, if you were to think about, I wasn't even asking her for me, just for herself. And I said, if you were to think about who you are, who you really are, what makes you tick, what things do you like, what are the things that you consider, to your advantage, that's beneficial to you to live a good life, and so forth. What are the things you want? And it's really interesting, because the first thing that came out of their mouth was, well, I know I'm blessed because I'm a child of God. And so I said, well, what do you mean by that? What exactly do you mean by that? And I asked her to unpack that phrase, to unpack that statement. What do you mean by that? Oh, I'm blessed and sanctified. What exactly do you mean by that? And she said, well, the Bible says. I said, let's try to have a conversation. I reiterated it again. Let's try to have a conversation outside of the Bible. And they simply couldn't do it. They could not do it. And then obviously I realized why they could not evolve, because they are stuck. They are stuck. This whole life is about evolution. If you think back, even in the natural things that we deal with, Think back in the days of Kodak. Have you heard Kodak mentioned lately? Kodak. Remember those what is it called, the instant camera Kodak, like that people had at weddings? I remember we went to a wedding and they had a Kodak. Everybody at every table, well, every person, every seat had a Kodak camera to those instant develop or whatever, and to capture different memories of the wedding and so forth. And that was a thing. Well, guess what? Today, that's not necessary. Why? Because it's been replaced with a mobile phone, regardless of the mobile phone you have. Regardless of the mobile phone you have. As a matter of fact, these phones, they compete with each other. Every year that there's a new phone, it's always about a better camera. You've got the wide angle and you've got the zoom in and you have the zoom out and all of that. The other day when I was at an event and I was trying to capture some live shots, and it was so fascinating because I was able to zoom in and zoom out with my phone, the camera on my phone. So imagine that, how things have evolved. So you don't hear of Xerox anymore. Not Xerox, Kodak. that's another name also that's almost extinct, except that now we say Xerox copy. But what we mean is a copy, regardless of the machine, because not all machines, as a matter of fact, I don't remember seeing a Xerox copy in a long time. So just as things evolve, look at, as a matter of fact, we were talking about that, my husband and I, we were talking about things that have evolved and so forth. Back then, you had the rotary phone, the rotary telephones. You had street phones. What do you call it? Booth, phone in the booth. Now, if you are out, if you do not have a phone on you, it's going to be difficult to make a phone call. Because if I'm out and somebody asks me to use my phone to make a phone call, I will not, I won't do it. Unless I know who you are, I won't give you my phone to make a phone call. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Unless I know you, unless I know who you are associated with, I am not going to give you my phone call, my telephone to make a phone call. So you see, there are no phone booths because everybody has a phone. Everybody has a cell phone, whether it's a smartphone or a flip phone. Everybody has a phone, just about everyone. Parents give their kids from 10 years old, 8, 9, 10 years old, a phone to carry. So you see how evolution is happening. Remember the days of, what is it called? Blockbuster. That's a true, well, that's a good story. And I may be kind of changing it up a little bit, but the way I understand it is that I think it was Netflix that went to, because there was Blockbuster at every corner. Every corner there was a Blockbuster. I remember I used to go not too far and I would pick out a couple of movies and come home, watch it, and then take it back, and all of that. You put it in the thing, in the chute, and it was done. And if I recall correctly, what I heard is that Netflix went to Blockbuster and they, I guess, talked to them about a different method, a different way of offering movies that's not, laborious, physical, where you have to go someplace and where you have to go to a store and pick it up and bring it back and so forth. And I think they were talking about mailing it and mailing it back and so forth. And it's my understanding that Blockbuster said, no, we don't want any of that. We're good. We have the market on movie rentals. And at that time, they were, I guess they were CDs, or was it 8-track? Because, we have evolved from, the 8-track to cassette tape to CDs, and then of course we stream everything. I got rid of, a lot of my things. I just got rid of them. So anyway, Blockbuster said, no, we're good. We don't need that. And what happened? What has happened, my friend? Blockbuster is out of business. Why? They became extinct. Why? They did not evolve. They did not evolve. And now we have a market that's Netflix. Netflix and Amazon Prime, and we have you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home to watch a movie. You don't. You've got Apple TV that streams, you have Amazon Prime, you have a whole bunch of options. You just stream it. When I want to watch something, if I don't, I have a whole library of some movies that I've bought, because when I travel, I like to have, the options of the ones that I really like. One of them is like Devil Wears Prada. I must have watched that movie like 1,000 times. And so, we're streaming today. It is the same with you. If you don't change your thinking, if you don't that's why when it comes to tradition, I scrutinize every rule, every law, every regulation, all of the things that is, because we do it this way or we've done it this way. I scrutinize all of that. And I make changes. As time goes on. Why? Because you want to be relevant. If you are not relevant, those of you that are saying that you are not being seen or heard, you feel invisible, it's probably because of that. Because you don't have, we would say in Spanish, no tiene tema. You don't have anything to talk about. Why? Because, nobody wants to hear about, in my days, in my time, we used to play jacks and we used to play hopscotch, and nobody wants to talk about that. I mean, yeah, you can reminisce and so forth, but that's not, you've got to stay relevant. And I'm telling you, you see, Blockbuster is out of business. Why? Because they didn't follow, they didn't evolve, they didn't grow, they didn't develop. And the same will happen to you. We sometimes stick to primitive information, thinking things like someone said in a conversation, and they said, well, I take my moral compass from the Bible. The Bible is my moral compass and so forth. And so I challenged that. I said, well, how so? And they said, well, because it's the word of God. And I asked him, well, how do you know it's the word of God? And of course, well, because it's the word of God and God inspired the writers and so forth and all of that. And of course, you cannot defend the Bible with the Bible. You cannot defend a cause, using the cause as your example. You cannot say the Bible and the Bible because it says in the Bible. No, you can't. You can't say the Bible is real because it's the inspired word of God. And how do you know? Because the Bible said the Bible is the inspired word of God. That doesn't make a lick of sense. And that's why I say it's important to reason and to think and to process things in your mind. And when you go back to the Old Testament and you read, it's all killing and exterminating and vengeance and hate and rage and wrath. And all of that's in there. It is in there. So you can't break it down and say, well, that was the Old Testament. No. I will not allow you to do that, because you have to be real. You have to be honest with yourself. It is in there, and it says that God did that. And it says that he commanded the Israelites to kill the Amalekites and to take the young girls as the virgins for themselves, and you imagine if they take them for themselves, what is for themselves, and so forth. So you cannot, when you say the Bible is a moral compass for yourself, that I'm not impressed by that. I'm not impressed by that at all, knowing what I know, because I've read it. So you can't. Now, where did you hear that? Why? Where did you hear it? Because you have heard that God loves unconditionally, and he's a loving God and a merciful God and so forth. Is that true to you? That he's the God that healeth thee. There's your provider. He's your protector. Is that true to you? I cannot stress that enough, because it has to work for you. It has to be true to you. If you need healing and you are not healed, you cannot, and you can continue to say, because, repetition, you continue to say, but you have to have some kind of intuition. You have to have some kind of knowing. Things happen to me, or avert things from happening or whatever, based on the things, my thoughts that I generate, the things that I want in my body, in my mind, in my life. I generate those thoughts. It doesn't mean that negative and pessimistic and gory, ugly thoughts don't come through my mind. Of course they do. But you have to know how to channel those thoughts, avert them, and get rid of them. You don't want them to sit there and be coded into your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind does not discriminate. Whatever thoughts you entertain, that's what it's going to work on. Your subconscious mind, our subconscious mind. That's why I said your mind, your ability to think, is your most valuable asset. It's something that you can govern. It's something that you can dictate. It's something that you can rule. I'm going to think this way. I'm going to do this. I am well. I am healed. I am whole. I am healthy. Once you attach whatever it is to the I am, and you continue to walk in that vein, then you become. It at some point opens up to you. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself and know, when you talk about God's unconditional love, there is no such thing. There is no such thing, because there are conditions. There are stipulations. You have to follow the rule or else. And again, I'm not telling you what to believe or not to believe, but you have to see it for what it is. You have to know the truth, because that is the truth that's going to set you free. Free to live this life now and enjoy it, and really get the gusto out of it, to enjoy it, and to do whatever it is that you want to, the things that you want to do, whether it's, take up a new hobby, a new career, travel, whatever it is that you want to do. You are able to do that now. And it behooves you to live now. A lot of people sometimes, as a matter of fact, I heard someone mention this morning something about we are now in the end times, whatever that means. And I know there's a lot of prophecy and things of that nature. We're now in the end times, and do you see what's happening and so forth? Throughout all the years, we have had seasons like this. We have had eras like this. That all the things that we're going through. We have seen empires collapse. And there's a trend that happens, and you see what's going on, and it happens. So this is not new. Even while back then they kept saying, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. My friend, your life is now. Your life is what you can enjoy now. Your life is about to live it now, to enjoy it now. The present is what you have. Now, this is what you have. This is what we have. This is what you know. And, you can hope for something else, but this is what you have. And you can't say that it's difficult to pivot or to change, because it's simply a decision that we make. Changes happen by simply a decision that we make. we make a decision to change. And it all depends on what it is that you want. What it is that you want. What it is that you want for your life. The other day there was something that I need to happen in my life, and I didn't have the discipline for it. I didn't have I found myself not having the discipline for it. And then I thought, I heard someone said, when you need to, in order to get rid of that thought process in your mind, you need to write it down. Not on your digital device, but write it in a book. So I've got these personal notebooks and stuff like that. And they said to write it 70 times. And for some reason, I just took that, I just believed that. I just took that as something that I'm going to do. So I started writing, I am disciplined. I am disciplined. I wrote it like 75 times. I am disciplined. I am disciplined. And it was for this area of my life that I really needed to get a hold of. Because one of the things that I like to know is that I have, in order to have command over your own life and to live that energetic, sovereign life that I desire, I need to be disciplined. And I'm not disciplined. Let's abort thought. There are some areas in my life that needed attention. And after writing that, I am disciplined. I am disciplined. I find myself doing the things, changing and doing the thing, correcting the areas that needed attention. So for me, that worked. And every time I think of going outside of that disciplined behavior, I remember writing it 75 times. I am disciplined. I am disciplined. That's all I wrote. I am disciplined. And I wrote it cursive. I am disciplined. Whatever. Cursive print, whatever. I am this. And I wrote it. As a matter of fact, my husband didn't even know I was doing that because, I don't share everything, but he will know now because he'll listen to the tape, but to the show. But that I did that. And now every time I find myself going out of that, or trying to stay in that comfort zone and not perform as I need to in a disciplined way, as I want to, a way that will benefit me, that, the change that will benefit me, benefit my life, benefit my health, benefit my mindset. The moment that I find myself going back, they're like, oh no, just this one time. No, I'm like, wait a minute. No, I spent 75 times writing, I am disciplined. And guess what? I want to honor that. I want to honor my time. I want to honor the fact that I took the time to do that. I wanted to honor my intuition that I thought, you know what? Let me do that. Let me do that. It's something that I heard. And I didn't do it because somebody says it. Somebody said it. I took it and I thought, okay, let's try this. I owned it and I did it. And yes, and now, see, that was just for that portion of my life, that piece that I needed to fix. But then guess what? Being disciplined now, I find that it just puts you in a different level with yourself. Not that you're competing with anyone else. You're just competing with yourself, being disciplined in, now I've taken up like Tai Chi. That's a form of exercise that I started to do. And I just like it because it's different. It's a whole different thing. And I'm in a whole different mindset. And I'm like, I've talked about soft living. So I didn't want to go back and right now I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. And, walking, that's something that I enjoy anyway, like morning walks and so forth. But as far as going to the gym and doing all of that, right now, that's not my season. So I enlisted in a Tai Chi class. And it's something you do for a short time. every day, and I find myself disciplined to do that. And just certain things. I had come off my fasting. I put it because I do intermittent fasting, and I kind of put that to rest for a while. And I just thought, you need to get back, and that's what I did. And just certain things that I just want to make sure that I keep that discipline going in every area of my life. So now, every time I think, of going outside of that. And again, I don't put, a gun to my head and so strict. No, I just bring it to my remembrance how disciplined I am, and that this is where I want to go to accomplish this particular thing or lifestyle or benefit for my life and so forth. So I encourage you to do the same thing. You've got to think things through. And this is just like everyday thing. I was talking to someone, I think I've shared on here before. We have this, I had this thing about tipping, tipping fatigue, and everybody wants a tip and a tip and a tip, and I just had it, that pad that they flip around and they say tip, 18, 20, 15, 25%, whatever. I am sick of that. Abort. I'm not sick of that, but I was just tired of it. And I needed to get rid of that type of feeling. I didn't want to have that. I just don't like to be told what I need to do or this or that. I don't want to be told that. So what I did, now I'm over it. You flip that thing and I'm going to put no tip or no tip. That's it. Skip the tip. I'll just skip it. Like, when I go to the store and, serve myself yogurt and so forth, I'm not going to tip. I serve myself. I put the what do you call the toppings, and then I pay you what I bought, and that's it. But when I'm in a restaurant, my whole mindset has changed. When I'm in a restaurant, and because that's a decision that I made, when I am served well, when we are served well, and not just the food, but the mannerism and the interaction and the energy and all that, I decided that I will give that server an unexpected delight. So with that mindset, you know what I had to do? When you have money, well, first of all, it's great to have the money to tip. It's so wonderful to have it. And that's what I'm thinking. I can tip because I have the money. And I don't hang on to it. Why? Because there's so much money flowing through me. That's the mindset that I created for myself. That's so there's money flowing through me. So I don't have to hang on to this like, oh, I'm going to hang on to this because there's no more money coming. No. So I remember we went out to place the other day, really nice place, and the server was really, she really went out of her way to really provide excellent service. And so at the end of the evening, she brings the check, and we never put a tip on the we pay with a card, with a debit card, and but we never put the tip on a card ever. We always go prepared with cash. So anyway, when she gave it to us, and then I asked her, I said, now when you get the tip as cash, do you have to share it? She said, no. I said, great. And she's like, oh, you guys are doing the Lord's work. That was her expression. So anyway, we signed off and we gave it to her, and I gave her a tip that I know that, she wasn't there when we left it. And when we left, and, she, shook our hands and we walked out. I know when she went back, her jaws dropped because she was so good. And I wanted to really give her the unexpected delight. And the thing is this, I'm not talking about the tip. That's a good thing. But my mindset changed for me. I'm thinking, for me to tip, I have to have the money. And my mindset is that the money will recycle itself. More will come back. The more I give, the more I get. The more I give, the more I get. That's my mindset. And ever since, I've been doing that for the past, few months, ever since I got over this whole thing about tipping. So I'm not intimidated by your pad, you flipping the pad that shows the tip, tip. And I just say no tip, skip the tip. I do that unapologetically. I don't care if 100 people are behind me looking to see what I'm going to do. I just do no tip. If I think you deserve a tip, I'm going to give you a really good tip. And in my mind, you see, it benefits me, even though it's a good thing for the person that's going to receive it, but it benefits me because it's my way of thinking. I'm thinking, I'm so glad I have the money. I am happy that I have the money to tip. And, if I don't have like a lot of money to tip, then whatever I have, whatever is a lot for me, is a lot for me, and that's what's going to increase and multiply. When we were in we traveled to when we were in San Antonio over the holidays. We sat at a table, and Blake was our server. Blake was just a breath of fresh air, and she just went out of her way, and she served us so well. We were just chilling and enjoying the food, and San Antonio was just lit, by the Riverwalk. There's just a lot of stuff happening there, and it's just nice, and the energy and people and so forth. So at the end of our meal, we she really earned that tip. She really earned it, and so we left. The next day, we got up late, and we needed kind of like a brunch type thing. So we went back to that same place, and we got Jose, and Jose was a nice server as well. And because we didn't know, well, Blake came in later because this was like in the morning, like between a.m. and noon, lunchtime. So we were chatting with Jose, and we said, we were here, a couple of nights ago, and it was great. We liked it, so and so. And Blake was our server and so forth. He said, "Oh yeah, Blake is really good. Blake is really, really good." And he shared this story with us, not Blake, but he did. He said, yes, the other night, a lady came in, and there were 4 of them, and she waited on them. And at the end, the lady gave her, she brought the bill, and the bill was, I don't know, perhaps, $200-300. And the lady wrote a tip for $1,000. So Blake goes back, and she sees it on the receipt, which, with the card. And she came back, and she said to the lady, she said something to the effect, "Ma'am, say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I believe you made a mistake with the tip." And the lady said, "No, I didn't make a mistake." And she said, "But you wrote $1,000." And the lady said, "I knew exactly how much tip I wrote in on that receipt." The lady gave her $1,000 tip. Imagine what that did to Blake. Now, she didn't tell us this story. Jose, one of her colleagues, co-workers, shared that with us. Gave her $1,000. The bill was something like almost $300. And she wrote, $300 and then $1,000. She said, of course, she was just boohooing all night because that's kind of unusual. And I thought, how wonderful is that to be in a position to give $1,000 and not miss it? And here I am, when I give a good tip, it's all relative, obviously. But, it's so fascinating because that money recycles. It's a way of thinking. It's a way, it's your mindset. You can put in your mind the things that you want, the way you want to live your life, create the life you want, the lifestyle you want, and just live accordingly. And as you do that, you will see how it will enhance and grow and develop and just really become sweeter and sweeter and sweeter, and just open doors and open opportunities and bring to you exactly what you desire. But you have to be real. You have to be true to yourself. You have to be authentic. I just, when I heard that, and Jose, he was a great server as well. When I heard that, of course, I was just, we were just inspired to give him a good tip. When I say a good tip, I mean the unexpected delight. Because, and I don't look at, where it says like when they give you your receipt, and then they have a little in the bottom reference the percentage and so forth. They would say like 11% and equals this, well, not 11%, but like 15, 18, 20, 25%. And they would tell you how much that would amount to. I don't follow any of that. I don't even look at that, because we don't put tip money on the receipt, on the bill, on the credit card. Whatever we pay has to be for what we consumed, and that's it. And then we have cash, and we were able to give it, because that's one of the things that I also prefer, that when we give a tip, that it goes to that person. I am not of the mindset that it goes into a pool and then they should. That's not my mindset. I don't care what their rules are, but to know that they get it for themselves, I give tip. I mean, cash. And that works for me. And I'm so now motivated. But you see how that changed from having tipping fatigue, and I no longer have tipping fatigue. I simply don't tip if I don't want to. If I go to a place and the service is not good, we went to this place and they were short staffed, and anyway, it wasn't that great, and we simply did not tip. And I have no issues with that. We simply did not. They did not earn a tip, and we just left. As a matter of fact, when we finished our meal, they did not even say, would you like dessert or whatever, coffee or whatever, none of that. So we just paid and we left. And I had no issues with that. That only happened once. That generally doesn't happen, because, today these, the servers are really putting in a lot of time and effort and, energy and good feeling and all of that in order to do a good job, in order to provide a great service. So it's a mindset. And I change my mindset. I change my mind. So you can too. To your truth, create the lifestyle that you want. Get rid of the primitive thought process. Try to live your life based on your moral compass, because we all have a moral compass. You can't, people that, because I used to think that way also. My moral compass comes from the scriptures. Well, no, because certain things that I see in the scriptures, those are things that I wouldn't do. So be honest with yourself, my friend. Be honest with yourself. You don't want to lie to yourself. You don't want to cheat yourself. You don't want to deceive yourself. You don't want to simply, and that's the thing with religion. It gives you a blind eye. You don't process things. We don't think. I was there. I used to not think of my own. I used to question things, and I used to just take it. This is the way it is, and that's it. And then your life becomes so routine. It becomes so routine and so programmed, so living by default on autopilot, just because the word says. what does God says, what the scripture says, and you want to do this and something else and whatever. And I am just so glad that I have reached a point where I can think for myself, seek logical, make logical decisions about things, and it works for me. Reason, and process things and come up with something that works for you. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. It doesn't matter, because when you think of, oh, what will people say and what will they, people are not thinking about you. They have their own issues to deal with. And if they're thinking about you and talking about you, it's because then they don't have a life. That means there is some kind of importance on your life that someone else has to be thinking about you and talking about you. That shouldn't be your concern. Don't think about that. Whatever people want to think, whatever they want to say, none of that matters. None of it matters. What matters is what you think about you, what you do with your life, what you do with your whole, the dynamics, your energy, your mind, your purpose, the goals, dreams, the things you want, the things you desire. That's what's important right now, because that's the present. That's the reality of what you have now. And for those of you that are dealing with health situation, I'm telling you, the body is designed to heal itself. Change your thinking, change your mind, change the way you view things, read, study, research, and once you see things, then you will know what to take, what to grab, what to hang on to for your benefit. That's what I did. When I submitted myself to that almost tiresome activity of I am disciplined. But now I see, because what in my mind, the areas that I needed to change, I want to make sure that the effectiveness of the time that I put in to write that repetitive statement, I am disciplined, I want to make sure that it's effective. You see, I don't want to negate the effectiveness of that with what I needed to change. And those are things that I do for myself. You can create what it is that you want, my friend. It is your life. It is your life, and it's your ability to think, to reason, to process, and to make decisions. And your intuition will tell you what you need to know. Because comes a point where you need to know things and not simply believe, because everything that you believe is someone else's thought that they put into this. And when I was talking to this person and we were talking, and I said to her, I said, let's talk about you, and without using the Bible. And of course she couldn't do it, because she said, well, the Bible says I'm a child of God and blah blah. And then she said, well, I'm a queen, and I just kept pounding, what does that mean? What exactly does that mean? And it's just really rhetoric, because if you are a queen, then you should have just about all your needs met, at least your material needs, because with that comes affluence and opulence and things of that nature. So it's up to you. The choice is yours. You have the ability to think, and I encourage you to use your most valuable asset, because no one can touch your mind unless you let them. You can be influenced by things you hear and so forth, but no one can touch your mind and unless it's programming, because that's what happened ever since you were little. You've been programmed, conditioned, and your mind has been altered. So now you have to go back to remember who you are. Know your worth, know your value. I'm going to leave you with that, my friend, so that you can sup on that. So that you can sup on that and really just start living the life that you desire. That's all I'm saying. Start living the life now. Create it, design it, and live it unapologetically. Yes, you're going to have a lot of pushback. Of course you will, because, but what I'm excited about is that so many people are waking up. So many people are waking up, and a lot of people are waking up. There are people that's been burdened by tradition and religious indoctrination and conventional norms and family, cultural, societal habits, ways of doing things, and it's sometimes difficult and hard to break away from those habits. So take courage and do what's best for you so that you can live your best life now. Every Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we meet right here. And if you can't join me, then check out the icons over here. You've got YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can pick up the show 24/7. It streams on those platforms. In the meantime, I'm going to say ta-ta. Have a fantastic weekend. Now, if you need to drop me a line, and thank you for those of you that's taking the time to touch base with me, go to my email. It's info at thecynthialinoxshow.com, and you can shoot me an email. I, of course, will respond, and if it's something that you want me to share, I will do that. But know that, again, my heart is just to really contribute to the world to make it a better place, even by giving information and encouraging you and inspiring you, and in some cases motivating you, whatever it is that touches you to change and to want to really live your life with gusto. Amigos, I will see you next week, same time, same place. Same time, same place. 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here. So, ciao. Enjoy your weekend and do whatever it is that you want to do and what makes you happy.